Let's make glow-in-the-dark yarn. So let's get started. For materials, we're going to need some kind of stirring equipment. I'm choosing this whisk that I've used numerous times. We're going to need some acrylic glow-in-the-dark paint. This is non-toxic. And I have an 8 fluid ounce bottle. However, we're only going to use half of it. So you only need 4 ounces per skein. Then you're going to take 1 skein of white acrylic yarn and make 2 hanks out of it. Then you'll need something to put it in. I have chosen this, don't see the size, but this big tinfoil basin thing. You can use whatever you would like, as long as your yarn is going to be able to fit in it and be mostly submerged. The first step is to get all of your acrylic yarn soaking wet and then wring it out to where it's damp. Something with the fibers being hot and wet first will make the paint like glide on in there and stick to all the fibers. So I'm going to fill this basin here with hot water, as kind of pretty much as hot as I can take it. I have filled my water about halfway, and I'm just going to dunk these in there to make sure they get nice and soaked. It might be hard to see on camera, but you can kind of see how this is really wet, and under where I put the strings are a bit drier. So you can flip it over. I try my best to not get the yarn too tangled in here, because when unwinding it later, it becomes a bit crazy. So we're just going to do that one and this one together. You could also do this over the sink, which is what I usually do, but this is where the tripod is. So here we go. Oh, we got something in there. Okay, now that they are pretty well soaked, you can hear that. I'm going to wring them out the best that I can. It's all right to leave some in there, some of the water, but we want them mostly rinsed out so that it will want to suck up all the acrylic paint mixture. Next, again, this is something you could do over the sink if you don't want to do it over your basin. All right, next we're going to take the paint. I've already used half of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and dunk the rest in here, and while I'm doing it, I'm going to mix it around. I'm going to try to break up as best you can all of the paint globs at the bottom. You can tell by looking at the water how milky it is that it is working. You can kind of, you know, lift it up kind of like your cake batter. So what's important, there's no real time for mixing. You just want to make sure that there seems to develop kind of like a film across the bottom of your basin. We just want to make sure that that's not there, because when you lay your yarn in it, it will make it very crunchy. That's how the yarn gets really crunchy. So I'm just trying to make sure to hit all the corners, to move it all around. And when you pull up your mixing device here, I don't seem to be pulling up any more of the paint. So I think that's good to go. Okay, then just going to take the 2 that we have pre-soaked and set them in here. Now, this is a thing. This is non-toxic paint. If you want to use gloves, use gloves. If you don't, wash your hands after. That's dealer's choice right there. So just like we were getting the yarn soaked in the hot water, we're going to make sure that this gets soaked really well before we let it go. And always making sure that under where the you've tied your yarn in the hank is where the yarn is the thickest, and it's going to be harder for the paint to get there or it to be soaked. So I like to squeeze them there, make sure it squishes in there. You can kind of separate the strands a bit. This is the first time I've tried doing two in the same. Usually I do one and then another one, but I got these bigger ones to try to make the process go a little faster. So then the same thing on the other side, or with the other one, I should say. And if they're not fully submerged, that's okay, because halfway through we're going to flip it. We just want to make sure that they are soaked in the paint water solution. Okay, and now we're just going to let that sit. Usually I do 30 minutes, but you can do 45, an hour, whatever you'd like. I'm going to go in the middle this time with 45, since I feel like I have a lot of yarn in these this time, and they're sharing a bath. So in 45 minutes, I'll come back. 45 minutes have passed. Now I'm going to just pick them up and flip them. Make sure that they're getting both sides are nice and soaked, saturated. Again, with where I put the ties, make sure it is nice and saturated. Okay, and then gonna wait another 45 minutes. It's been another 45 minutes, so time to wring it out and go let it dry outside. So I'm just going to go ahead and get as much of this off as I can, because here today it is not super hot. It's just low mid 80s, so it might not even dry today. So we're going to try to get as much off. And I know people are wondering, is it crunchy? How does it feel after using it? You have to remember that the yarn I'm using, the Red Heart acrylic in white, is already kind of scratchy. So when you're adding paint to it, it's going to be a little bit scratchy. However, you can put it right into your washing machine. And yes, you can wash it and you can dry it and it will still glow wonderfully. In my researches through the years here, as long as you spend time recharging the yarn, it will continue to glow. And I have yarn that I end up saving, what I don't use at the end of the year, and then it gets saved for the next year and it glows just as fine. So now let's go take it outside to hang it. My fancy drying process includes a tack and a long string loop to it attached to another part of my little balcony, and I just loop it through the thread and let it hang. About halfway through the day, I like to take it and flip it, because a lot of the water kind of pools down at whatever part you have hanging down. So when I do this, it kind of feels more even. Now the fun part. It is dry. It has been sitting out all day, and I'm going to show you. See, look, you can already see it glowing. We're walking to my kitchen, which is pretty dark during the day if there's no lights on, to show you how marvelous of a job this does. Please tell me, are you going to try this? Isn't it cool, and what would you make?